Hi friends, I'm Tammy. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm teaching you how to paint these anemones. Yes, anemones aren't just in the ocean, they're also flowers. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to make them. So let's go. I'm going to use my German brush. And this one is more like a 12 or 14 in the regular sizes we're used to. So we're gonna start off by doing the middle of the flower. And that requires a lot of black. So I'm just dipping in, adding a little bit of water, a little more. And we're just going to start adding them around where we want our florals to go. So this is gonna be a side-facing floral. So I'm just gonna go to the side here and do this half circle. And I might leave a little highlight because that's kind of fun. So a little bit of a half circle. And then what we want to do is grab a thinner brush. This is my liner, just wet it a little bit. And I will put some paint on here, even though sometimes you can just draw out the little bits of the middle without adding extra paint. But we'll just do that. So we're adding these little lines. Looks like eyelashes, so cute. And then we're going to take the tip of a brush and we're just going to do some little dots, okay? There's going to be that classic anemone center that we're all used to. If you've never seen anemones, definitely check them out. Look, I've got two happening at once because my brush is splitting. Definitely check them out online. They're so beautiful. And I just couldn't resist painting these today. So I already did a sample. And I like how they turned out and I wanted to share it with you today. So these are big and I typically will paint florals, well, a lot smaller than this. And I'm wanting to go a little bit bigger today. We'll see how big they actually get. All right, so there's my center there. All right, and then we're gonna take our brush and draw out all those little spiky bits. Let me grab some more paint here. Okay, and you just want to go all the way around, try to get really thin marks, and if you can't, no worries. Don't worry about painting. You have so many worries. Let's talk about worry today. I didn't plan that, but I was like, you know what? Let's chat about it because we have so many worries in our life. Why worry about art, okay? Why worry about it coming out perfectly? There is no place for perfectionism in art. I keep saying it and I'm going to say it again because we already find ourselves trying to do things perfectly in our life, with our relationships, with our jobs. Like, let's just quit when it comes to our art. Let's just be, let's just enjoy. And I'm telling this to myself today too, okay? It's not like I've got this all perfectly figured out. Let's do another round one, a little bit closer to the center. I don't have it figured out. And I still do worry about my art, and especially when I'm filming it for people. But you know what? I'm going to keep telling myself to chill. Let's just chill and let's just try our best to enjoy this painting process. Let's do another one right here, another side facing. Oh, that one needs a little more water. So I'm just dipping into that paint while getting a lot of thick paint. And sometimes things start to dry out just a little bit. So add more water, whatever you need to do. All right, drawing out those little pieces. A little more water, no worries. Just start doing it. Okay. And this little brush is a wonder. He does so many amazing little things for me, but he tends to run out of paint quickly, cannot hold a lot of water. And so we just have to reload more often. No worries. No worries at all. Right, no worries. So I'd like for you as you're painting this to think about one thing that you tend to worry about and think about whether it might be something that you can let go of. Is it something that you need to have consuming your mind and your thoughts? Or is it something just to leave by the wayside and it'll kind of take care of itself? Or maybe it's something that you're working on taking care of, but you're worrying about it in the meantime, and the worry helps zero things, right? Okay, just think about that. All right, so adding in these little dots for the anemone centers. They're so cute. I really love them. All right, so we're gonna have 4 of these flowers with the centers here, and then we're just going to have a few coming off from the sides. We might do some more of these. I'm not sure yet. Actually, I'm gonna do one more. I'm sure. Let me take this one. So when you're looking at your composition, I'm gonna do one right here, just kind of facing this way, I think. A little side facing. And I've got a vase situation happening. So I just have to be aware of where the edge of the vase is, where it ends, or the top of the vase, so that I can make sure that my flowers are all inside. All right. If it stresses you out to paint like this, definitely do some basic sketching. You can sketch everything if you don't mind it being less loose. It doesn't matter. Or you can just sketch basic shapes to kind of go over the spaces where you'd like things to be placed, so you lightly have an idea and don't get stressed out about that. Okay, we're gonna let this dry. I'll be right back. Not until I put in this center, of course. Sometimes when I'm filming, I just don't see things around on the painting. And I have to take a second, step back, and be like, oh wait, I forgot this part. That's okay. We're just gonna add in the rest and then go back and dry this. And then I'll be right back with you. And I'm making these little dots really random so that they don't all look uniform and the same. Okay, I'll be right back. Now we're going to mix up our red. I do have some red on my palette. Let's add a little bit more, or a lot more, I don't know. So I've got a dark red on my palette. It does have black mixed in, which is what we're gonna do to do the details on the anemones, but for now I don't want that. So we're gonna go pretty light. Nice watery-ish mix of our color. Dab your brush if you feel like you need to. I have cleaned my brush and we're ready to start putting in the petals. So, well, let's see. I'm gonna start with this one up here. So I'm just going to make this lovely petal shape. It's a little thinner here and it gets a little bit thicker right there. And there's a lot of liquid on my brush, so I just dabbed my brush. You know, feel free not to fill in everything if you don't want to. I tend to like to keep it a little bit looser. Maybe some white space between petals if you'd like as well. And, you know, I'm going to probably keep it about this size. Let me see here. Let's go on this side and add in another petal here. And we just want to keep these loose and beautiful and fresh and all the things. Now, I did put out a poll last week asking you guys if you wanted me, because I had 2 versions of this. When I did my sample, I did, let's see, I did one with details and one without details. And most of you liked the one with details. Actually, let me be honest, I think it was more like 60% liked it with the details on top and 40% liked it without the details. So we're doing details today, people, all right? Detail people won. So we're going to do just a little bit of petal here on the side. The way this perspective is set up, we cannot see as much of this petal. It just looks like a little blip. And let's go ahead and do another one here and adding that in, just really light and loose and lovely. And maybe a little bit more here. Okay, so when you're doing this, sometimes it feels a bit daunting adding those petals in and trying to figure out like how far down do I go here? Don't worry about it. Just add them in, and if you feel like you need to change something, then do it later. Okay, so I like how that one looks. Let's go ahead and let's let that dry a little bit, and let's go ahead and do this one here, which is a forward-facing one. I feel like mixing up more red. Let's do it. Adding in that lovely color. I really love this color. Now I am using my Paul Rubens, and remember guys, a little bit thinner here, getting thicker out like that. My Paul Rubens paint today, it's a professional artist grade. If you are interested in checking it out, the link is in the description of the video to my affiliated Amazon link and my storefront to all the art supplies that I use or have used and love. So if you want to check that out, I always get a little bit of a commission and at no extra cost to you guys. So if you're interested, if you like the paints or any of the brushes Polina Bright, they're also linked in my profile. And I try to link on my Amazon storefront products that are affordable as well as more professional, so that I want everybody on every budget to be able to, you know, see some of the things that I love, and you can be able to pick up something, you know, that works for your budget. All right, adding in our petals, continuing on, another one down here. This is just so much fun. Anemone are so beautiful, and I feel like I can never quite do them justice, but I wish that I could find some time and purchase them. I know I can. I'm sure I've seen at Whole Foods, they'll typically have some lovely more rare flowers, I would say. But I mean, these are really common when it comes to bouquets, like in magazines and books. Just so pretty. All right, so I'm gonna actually add in 2 more petals here. And as I'm sitting here, I'm like, how many petals do they have? And I was like, do they have 5? I've seen people do 5. On this one, I've got like 6 going on. Based on my reference photo, we had a lot of petals. But anyway, we had 6, I think, that I counted. I don't remember. I am now basing this based off of my sample. So you're getting 6 petals, people, at least right here. So that's okay. So I like having a round pointed brush, like what I have here. Let's extend this out, because, and I'm going to just extend this a little bit into the black center. And the reason why you got to be really quick about it is because you're going to start to get that black paint to bleed if you start scrubbing it if you go over it more than once or twice. And I don't want any bleeding. So I'm just going to kind of lightly, you know, dip in and make sure to spread things and leave it. Okay. All right, let's keep going, guys. Yeah, so it takes a little bit because we're just trying to be methodical about these flowers. But that's okay. It's a kind of a meditative practice, and I hope you're having fun as well. I'm having a lot of fun this morning. So again, skinny, we're just repeating the same thing that we did before, making sure that we have enough petals. I'm actually going to, this one I think will have some longer ones here, and then we'll make a little bit of some shorter ones over here, just because of maybe the perspective is a little different, maybe the flower is tilted a little bit. You can see I'm purposefully leaving white space. And we're going to get, our petals are going to get into this guy's space, but that's okay. He can be behind, hanging out, doing his thing. And he doesn't have to be the center of the show like some of these other ones here. And you can extend your petals too. So I've got 3 happening here. And let's do a 4th one. When we are working on this here and we're having to paint from all sides, our hand gets it feels a little bit more uncomfortable in some of these angles, but just do your best. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. You know, like I said, no perfection in art. There's no room for it. Don't even consider it. I'm telling myself the same thing. I'm telling myself the same thing. Okay. And so I'm going to make these a little bit shorter, and I'm just sketching them in. I said penciling them in. It feels like that sometimes. When you have a really good brush and it feels kind of like a pencil, feels like you're sketching, that's kind of what it feels like with this. It's such a good brush. It's lovely. It would not be on the affordable list. It's definitely a professional brush and it's definitely more pricey, but I received these from Paulina Bright. Beautiful, beautiful paintings this artist does, and I'm really happy to be able to have the privilege to use them. And they are linked in my profile if you want to check them out. Okay, so I just wanted to round these a little bit more. So when you start to look at your flowers, sometimes you see some things that you want to change. You want to connect things a little bit more or extend something out. Go for it. It's the time to do it. All right, so we have over here some happening, and then over here, this guy. I'm going to just start doing that one. And, you know, you can go lighter if you want. You know, all your flowers should not have to be, you know, the same angle or perspective. They should not have to be the same shade of paint, and they don't have to be the same value. They can be lighter or darker. Okay, so just do what makes you happy. And remember, don't worry about it. I mean, I could say this forever, and I will still find ways to worry about my art. And this is why I talk about it for me. It's for you, but it's also for me. And I have to be honest about that. I want you guys to know that you're not alone with the worries. We all do it, and it's also completely not productive for anybody. Okay. All right, let's get this guy over here. He's just behind, hanging out, doing his little anemone thing. And I'm noticing that my petals are looking on the, like they're on the square side. Not probably my favorite look. You could go in and extend them more. Of course, you might have an issue with the value, the color that you put down, so you might not want to do that, but you could try it, and then once you add details over the top, it might just blend in really nicely. So we have our 5 flowers happening here. I want to add in a side-facing flower right now, and I'm just going to try to do that really tight. I like my blooms to all be pretty close together so that we don't have a lot of white space in between where we have to fill in some green and stems and that kind of thing. So I would recommend, you know, you doing that as well. And that's how I'm going to paint this today. Of course, you can do what you would like. It's really, you know, up to you. All right, so I've got my green here. We're just going to mix that up. I tend to use a lot of sap green. I like it a lot. I think it's really pretty. I think I'm going to just do a little poke of red in there just to tone it down a little bit. A little more green. And if you want to have the same shade of your color or the same value, you're going to want to mix up a large amount of the paint that you've been using. I'm going to actually switch to a number 8 round brush. It has a really nice point to it for our stems and that kind of thing. And remember, we have to start adding in some of our greenery and all that stuff. But I'm going to put my stems in. And so with this one, we're looking at the center of the flower, and the stem is going to be right under that. So it's right here. So I'm going to connect it right about there. And I always feel like I never have enough green. What's going on, people? Me. It's just, I'm talking to me. What's going on, Tammy? All right, make sure it's thick enough so you feel like it's anchored well. And we'll do one over here, touching down so some of that paint can spread. I just want a little bit of spreading, you know, not too much. And I think what I feel like doing, because all of my stems are going to be going into this jar, is I'm going to rinse the brush and start getting that process going. I really love a nice blue or turquoise color. We've got some cobalt blue here, which is really pretty. I might use that. In my sample, I did use a nice turquoise. What would happen if I added a little green to this? Just kind of inventing my own. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. I'm gonna do that. So now we're taking this nice pointy brush. We're trying to make a loose vase, and we're going to have it be like around here, rounded, cute little rounded vase. So I'm just going to start sketching that in. And then rounding it up over here, and then over here again. So this is very sketchy, very loose. Let's rinse the brush in the clean water, and we're just going to let some of that paint start to spread out a little bit. And I haven't committed to a lot. Okay, let's do the rounded part at the bottom. Okay, so this is a very light, easy, sketchy vase. It's going to be transparent, so I don't want to do too much to it. And then I just want to take my fresh water and start. If there's too much water, you can lift some of that color, and just kind of making some marks where you might have those with your vase. So if you've got a clear vase, you're going to have some reflections. You have some reflections in the vase and of different colors that's around the flowers, that's around the space where the flowers are hanging out. And so it's just good to keep that in mind as you're painting that in. So we're gonna let it hang out right now. It's just a little really simple vase situation, and we'll add to it soon, but I wanna start adding more to this. I think I'd like to do my leaves. So I have this lovely brush. I'm gonna skip back to my Paulina Bright brush, and we're gonna do some really loose leaves. And you can dab your brush if there's too much liquid on your brush. Let's see. And so we are going to just kind of leave this at a point, and then I'd like to just kind of go back over, and we're just kind of scalloping these leaves. Does that make sense? If you don't like this shape, you can always change it, make it wider. We're gonna fill this in with a really watery light paint for our anemone, because I want to have some really big leaves in here. The anemone is going to have kind of a different leaf situation happening. This is just a filler leaf. You know, in your bouquet, you just kind of add in whatever you want. You can lift some paint if you wanted to create just a little bit of difference there. And then I'm going to do some here too. And I'm just moving the brush around quickly and kind of getting whatever shape I get out of that. A little bit of a point there and filling that in. All right. So the anemone actually has kind of an interesting leaf. It kind of reminds me maybe of a poppy or a cosmos. And they've got these little tendrils or something, kind of like that just kind of stem off like this. And so, you know, it's not that classic leaf that you're used to seeing, but they're really pretty and, you know, worth mentioning and adding in just a little bit. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of a leaf back up here, and very loose interpretation of a leaf. So just when you're filling in your composition, you're just going to start thinking of, you know, some lines sometimes. Sometimes you're going to do some more specific leaves and maybe some rounded ones or some, you know, long, thin ones. You could even change up your color values or the greens that you're using too. And you're wanting to just make that fullness in your bouquet. And so I like those leaves. I'm going to do a few more over here. And just trying to think of what's going to look good with what you have so that you can complement your florals in your vase, if you have a vase or whatever it is you're creating. we're running to complement here. Let's do another one. So I have some really thin kind of stems that are not even connected much. I just want it to look a little artsy, a little painterly, a little loose and fun. A little loose. I want it to be really loose and really fun. Okay, a little bit more of those more, the shape of this is more curated, I guess. And then this one just kind of blobbed it on, adding it in. And you also want to, or I like to paint in some lines here just for some fullness and some foliage so that we're not having a lot of that white space. And I want to keep it, the bouquet, nice and tight. So I could do, if I wanted to, I could do some more blooms, little ones up here or whatever. I think I'm going to leave it how it is. I'm liking what's happening there. And this is starting to dry. We'll add some more details over the top of that as well. And we'll get to that when things are dry, of course, all in due time. So I'm going to do, let's just dab your brush. Sometimes your brush just holds so much water, and this one really tends to do that. So I try to dab it, you know, so I'm not getting a puddle. And puddles, of course, take a very long time to dry, and, you know, we're not about waiting forever to get things to dry, but at least I'm not. So I'm just going to do some little grassy bits, and I want to do another large leaf, so I have boom, 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 you know, 3 or 4 going on here. And I'm just going to do it right here, just behind this anemone. I'm not really changing up my greens too much, but I am going to paint over the top of some of them, you know, later. And so maybe that's the point where I'm going to add a little bit extra variation. Okay, I'm gonna let that chill for a little bit after I do this part. Just a few little more marks, of course. And I like adding those. It just gives a little difference to the foliage that's happening, and that can be kind of fun. All right, so now it's time to do some details over the anemone. And I'm gonna switch back to my number 8 round brush. I love this guy, he's wonderful. I'm gonna grab some more red. That's a really lovely, bright, a little bit of a pinky red. And then we're gonna add in some black here. And we're darkening this up a ton because we're gonna do those details, okay? Dabbing the brush. And this is, for me, the fun part, starting to add in those details, the lines, as we've been doing. So I do want to have a thick amount of paint. Oops, that's kind of a pink color, it's okay. We'll add that in too. So see how thick this is? The paint is barely moving for this puddle right here. And that's what we want. Now, if you want, you can also do a 3rd layer that's even darker, or you could do a mid-tone layer first and then this dark one. I don't know, I might just do this because we'll see how we feel about it. I want some dark marks here, and I'm just sketching along these petals. I want to add some personality, and I might even, you know, press down to make some darker marks too. It's fun when I say I might and then I just do it. Yep, that's right. Okay, so we are just sketching along. We are trying to create dimension and depth for our beautiful anemones. We want them to look fun and fancy. Okay, and you know, you can do, if you're one of those people that really liked this one without, you know, the 2nd layer, just that 1st layer of color, then just leave them that way. You don't have to paint over this 1st layer. I like this style personally, and people also voted that that's what they wanted, and so that's what you're getting for this tutorial today. And I am dipping already into my leaves, which is classic for me. I don't know if anyone else does that. I tend to be very messy. So I'm just doing a variation of thin and thick strokes, just kind of trying to create, you know, not only the texture, but the shadows on some of these florals. And then the side facing too, just giving it a little bit of pizzazz as well. It's a very thick paint. So I am doing a lot of thick and thin, and I want it just to look varied. Thin and thick strokes is what I was trying to say. But yeah, very thick paint, because what I'm seeing here, I want to maintain. I don't want to lose too much of that really dark value. And if you're afraid to do this part, don't be afraid. Remember, we're talking about not worrying. Worry does not do anything. It doesn't make your situation any better, but it only causes you not only to feel stressed in your mind and your body, it causes no solution. So you're just there sitting there, thinking about your stuff all the time. And that's one reason why I encourage people to paint, because it does, if you are learning something new, or you're talking during a tutorial like I am, you really literally cannot be thinking about your stressors. There's no physical way that you can. And so it's a really nice reprieve from the things that you've been experiencing and the things that you've been ruminating on. And if you guys, dipping in, I'm really trying not to be a messy painter, but I kind of have to just embrace what's happening. I can try to be less messy, but, until I get to that point, I have to just not worry about it. I have to not worry about it. Okay. Anyway, a lot of stress talk. But I hope and encourage you. I hope that I can encourage you to continue to find ways to de-stress. And I hope painting can be that for you. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to put down brushstrokes and, find that sense of satisfaction when, you see something that you created and you enjoy it. So if you are liking this video, guys, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel so that you can know when I post new videos and all the things, guys. And reminding you, if you haven't heard before, I do teach watercolor on Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You can get access to my bonus content. There's different types of tiers depending on what you like to pay and what you'd like to receive. But exclusive content and live stream access with me and the group, and art prints and exclusive tutorials, all the things linked in the description if you're interested in that. And also in the description, I have some freebies. I have a free watercolor botanicals course, and it has some mental health self-care tips as well, as I have some free drawing sheets. And so those are all linked in there. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, you'll get the freebies. And I don't send a newsletter too often, so hopefully it's never annoying, and hopefully it's helpful. And I let you guys know when I have new videos out, or if I have a sale in my shop, my Etsy shop, and all the things. All right, so we've got our lovely details on there, letting that dry. I'm gonna grab my sap green once again, and we're gonna make it a little bit thicker this time. And we're going to do the shadow parts. So you guys know the routine, the drill. So we are going to start adding in some cool stuff. Now you could do lines if you want, and maybe I'll do that. I don't usually do that. Let me try doing that today and see how I feel. So I'm just going to etch them in at a diagonal. And if you wanted to use a liner brush, you could. You would get more thin marks. And I'm kind of liking, again, using this one just for a little sketchy look. Some of them are thick, some of them are thin, and just going for it because we want to add just some fun dimension. And sometimes, these lines don't even touch, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm just holding it loosely and just adding in things that make sense. I think I'm going to just do, some blobs of color here for these guys. They're a little different, and I like to change it up. This one's still wet, so you're just gonna get more of a blend of the colors versus some actual marks, and that's okay. Just painting over the top, loose and easy going. Oh, I just love this. And our grasses as well, making sure they're a little bit darker. And I hope that you're enjoying this experience with me, guys. I'm so glad that you're here. I love doing this. I love painting with you, and let me know in comments if there's something else you'd like me to paint in the future. I'm just going over that so that we don't have, some of those marks when I dipped in with my hand. which is classic me, classic and common. I want to add, I would like to paint in another leaf right here, kind of overlapping right here. And I think I'm just gonna do like a sketchy mark, and it may have some color coming through, and that's okay. This guy is such a big leaf, and I'm, you know, of course my brain is regretting a little bit, like, oh, why did I do it so big? Well, I don't know. Who knows why I did it? But it's okay. We can add some other things in, and I can even do one over here just to make it look a little bit more natural. There we go. Filling that in. So we have a couple more things to do. Actually, I want to add a little bit of maybe some, you know, grasses here over the top. Okay, filling that in. We need to do our stems, and we need to work on our vase just a little bit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flowers. Let's just add in our stems really loosely. They can crisscross. Some of them can be longer than others. Crisscrossing is fun. And there's our stems, but we might do more because guess what? We have all those leaves in there. Those leaves are not coming from nowhere. They have stems as well. All right, that was simple, easy peasy. I've got my kind of turquoisey color. I started off with this little cobalt blue, and I added in some green. So a little bit extra green. We want it to be darker and thicker, of course. And I'm gonna avoid touching the leaves. I just want to darken up this part right here and this part right here. Okay, just a little bit. We're not going too crazy. Maybe a little bit right there too. And then clean your brush, dab your brush, and spread your paint. All right, see, we want that really soft edge, and just adding that in there. And we've got airplanes going by. We have the neighbor that is working on his tools outside with his tools already. I'm painting this really early. Well, it's 6:45 now. We've been painting for a little bit. And we have the trash truck backing up. So anyway, I try to avoid the sounds, but at the end of the day, it's just that natural ambiance, and what can you do? Okay. All right, so we have our vase done, just really loose, a little bit of color. I was thinking of adding some shadow, but you know what, guys? I'm just gonna leave it how it is. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon on the next video. Remember to subscribe and check out Patreon, linked in my description. Bye.